Dr. James Musinguzi, and I'm the Executive Director of the Uganda Wildlife Authority. The authority launched a campaign to name and save a rhino in Uganda. This is part of the 10-year rhino conservation strategy that the Uganda Wildlife Authority developed, which sets forth the various steps that we are going to be taking as we conserve the rhino in Uganda. We have developed species-specific conservation strategies for the various species of wildlife, and this time we are dealing with the rhino. The motivation behind Name and Save a Rhino is basically to involve everybody, involve every Ugandan, every visitor, every Oruisha of Uganda in conservation of rhinos in Uganda. It's very important that we involve everybody in the conservation of Uganda's wildlife resources, because conservation is not one person's responsibility, but rather it's all our responsibility as Ugandans. As patriotic Ugandans, we need to conserve Uganda's wildlife resources so that they can be here for generations. We conserve for our children and great-grandchildren so that they can find them, study about them, but also by conserving wildlife resources, we are promoting Uganda's economy. We are growing Uganda's economy because the tourists come to see and enjoy the wildlife experience in Uganda, and through that they are bringing in money that is supporting the growth of the economy. When they bring in foreign exchange, we don't get challenges of balance of payment because we have enough dollars in the country, but also jobs are created for our fellow Ugandans, which is very important. So as we create jobs, we create a middle income status, people within the middle income status, and then we grow the economy as per the aspirations of the government of Uganda. So the Name and Save a Rhino is an effort to involve everybody in the conservation journey, but also to put forth our conservation efforts, to step up our conservation efforts for the conservation of the rhino. It is also going to help us to raise funds for the implementation of the 10-year rhino conservation strategy. It's not cheap because it involves a lot of activities, including infrastructure development, genetics for the animals, sourcing the animals, because the plan is to work with the southern white rhinos, which we have already at Ziwa Rhino Sanctuary, to take 20 of them to Arua Wildlife Reserve and leave 28 there, so that we can introduce another product in the wild. You go and see and track and look for the rhinos in the wild in Arua. So the motivation is basically the involvement of everybody in the conservation story, but also raising money to be able to support us in our conservation efforts of the rhino by rallying everybody to support that cause. That is why we are here. The naming and saving the rhino will create awareness. To create a lot of awareness, because we have a lot of special treasures in Uganda, animals, plants, the cultural values, but they are not well known. So working with the Uganda Tourism Board, working with the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, we are bringing these attractions out so that people can know them. By naming this rhino, then even the person who has a special attachment will get informed and say, oh, okay, so there are rhinos here. Eventually they will join and come on board to also participate in this process. So one of the major aims and objectives of this campaign is to let people know about our conservation efforts and actually rally them to join the efforts, because it is not only the efforts of the Uganda Wildlife Authority. These are not Uganda Wildlife Authority animals or wildlife, but it's for the country. The Uganda Wildlife Authority holds or keeps this wildlife in trust on behalf of the people of Uganda, and the people of Uganda make up the government of Uganda. So the government of Uganda gave us the responsibility to lead the process of conserving wildlife resources, but otherwise it is everybody's responsibility. So by creating awareness, by involving everybody, it brings about awareness about the value of conserving Uganda's wildlife resources, And so eventually everybody will be involved because we bring them closer to nature. We bring them closer to these animals. And through that, we think that we can create a multiplier effect of like-minded Ugandans and non-Ugandans who are aware and conscious about wildlife conservation, so that together we conserve the wildlife resources, we create jobs, we diversify the tourism products and services, bring in more tourists, thereby growing our country through empowering people to get jobs, thereby growing the economy. We have a duty as government by 2040 to raise Uganda's economy, Uganda's GDP, from the current about 55 billion to about 500 billion US dollars. Therefore, as tourism, we have been given a task to raise 50 billion US dollars as part of Uganda's economy by 2040. Now, we cannot do this unless we innovate, unless we develop more tourism products and services, unless we involve everybody in the tourism and conservation story, so that together we can conserve what we know, but also are able to rally support and inflow of tourists from other countries, but also from within Uganda as domestic travelers.